Now for the pipe. So I'll be honest, I don't really like the pipe very much. For a number of reasons. So, one of the things about the knife, or the things to mention about both of his triggers, is that, like I said, they remove his ability to do Tornado Sweep, which is a big part of his neutral game because of his ability to convert into knockdowns on hits and bully his way in without having to spend the meter for EX Zonk. So the fact that he loses the ability to do that in both of his triggers is kind of a problem. However, the knife gives him plenty of other neutral tools that he can just convert hits into knockdowns and get in really easily. So that's not... So, like, he has enhanced neutral with the knife even though he loses his projectiles. And he has enhanced pressure even though he loses his ability to cancel into the projectile and block. However, with the pipe, you get none of those things, because it only enhances, or changes, not enhances, his punch normals, and I don't think it's really that great. So, it is a great anti-air, like, it hits, like, really, like, a wide area. I'm not entirely sure if it's any different than the knife's hitbox, but, yeah, it's pretty good. And standing heavy punch, you can't really do anything after it when you hit. It's -5 on hit, but that's fine. It has crazy good range. But if you get it on just hit, like normally, it's not special cancelable in this version, so there's nothing you can do. You can cancel into the V trigger attacks, but those won't reach. So it's really only beneficial if it gets a crush counter, in which case it'll refill some of the timer. So as you can see, look at the V-trigger timer. If I hit a crush counter standing heavy punch, it refills a little bit. And that gets a knockdown. But other than that, like, this doesn't enhance his neutral game, not really. Because, one, it removes his standing heavy punch, which is one of his best buffer normals. It removes his tornado sweeps, which is really important to his neutral game. And it replaces them with, he gets a better anti-air. And he gets this, which can only get knockdowns or get him in on counter hits. And anything that's not a counter hit is just spending more of the V gauge. Oh, he also gets his jumping heavy punch, which is weird. But anyways, yeah, and then he gets his rock tosses. So the way it works is that you can toss it 3 different ways, which look very similar. And that determines how far it goes when you hit it up in the air. For the most part, it doesn't change much if you're hitting it straight. So if you hit it immediately, it'll go up in the air. Using this in neutral is like, I don't know about it, because it doesn't really stop the opponent's horizontal momentum, so they could really easily just whiff punish you for pulling this out, especially since its recovery is pretty much just as bad as his regular fireballs anyways. But it doesn't put anything on screen that they have to really deal with. The rock itself, actually, like, the rock's properties change, like, depending on how you hit it. So by default, the rock actually does not have very good hit stun at all. They recover from the hit stun almost immediately. If you hit it into the air, much heavier hit stun. If you hit it into the ground, significantly heavier hit stun. But if you're just tossing it without hitting it, or if you toss it and intend to hit it but then get hit yourself, even if it hits the opponent, for doing so, it's barely going to hit stun them at all. It's not like Colleen's Hails or anything where you would be able to win off of trades. It's barely anything. So if they just hit you with a knockdown or just do anything that's strike or projectile invincible, like if anyone has a reversal that's like frame 3 projectile or strike invincible, they can just do it on a lot of your like setups and stuff and outright punish you for a lot of the stuff that you could technically do with this trigger. That being said, it does still have some good stuff. I mean, well, like, if your opponent's, like, not able to punish you for just doing this outright, and you can get to your follow-ups, then, trying to guess where the opponent is with that, with the swinging it upwards. Well, one, the problem with this is that even though they look very similar, this is the light, this is the medium, and this is the heavy version, even though they look very similar and are probably really hard to distinguish, the opponent can still see which one it is. So if you hit it into the air, it's not like, so long as they're able to identify which one it is, it's not a mystery, like, where it's going to come down. So trying to do that in neutral and not in setup situations, I don't know about that. But obviously that's a very complex situation, so that would require a lot of testing and playing. So once you have it out, then they can take a guess on what you're going to do next. If they jump and you hit it straight up like that, they'll probably jump into it. I've tested it. It hits them pretty well in the air if they forward jump into that. The rock will hit them. I think you can convert off of it with like a ruffian kick or a zonk. If you just hit it across the screen like that, it's very plus on hit and on block. You can forward dash, you can combo off of it on hit with a variety of things. And then if you hit it straight, it's very plus on hit and on block. It hits 3 times and it gets a knockdown. So I would, if you hit it on block, it will literally at any range always be plus enough for you to get a full forward dash in and still be plus. So be aware of that. That's pretty good. And if you hit it down, then it's still pretty plus. Like the advantage that you get on hit and on block is pretty good all around. But still though, I don't think it's that like fantastic of a neutral tool, considering having to place it in the first place. It's like a billion times worse than like Ed having to do Psycho Spark before he can throw his projectile. So anyways, yeah, that's all that it changes, and the fact that it removes some of his important neutral tools, I think means that if you're going to use this trigger, you should probably save your meter until you get trigger, so that you have plenty of meter to do EX Zonk in, so that you can start all of your mix-ups. Because he gets much more dangerous once he's up close, because he has his command grab, and he has his, all of his combos that he can do. With his set play and stuff. That's all really good. And his damage output is really good in this trigger. But I just think that his neutral game suffers because it doesn't have any, like, he doesn't really get any better in neutral. So I think that saving your meter for EX Zonks to get in would be a good choice if you're using this trigger. So once you get in, he has his command grab, which you can hit early, you can hit late, thus causing different knockdowns, but there's really not, anytime you hit it, you can always cancel it into the rock. So that's fine. I think the rock setups would be much better in the corner, where you don't have to guess whether or not the opponent's going to neutral recover or quick tech, quick rise or back recover, but if you hit them with the if you hit them with the enhanced version, which causes the wall bounce, they can only tech one way. It's pretty much so doing that allows you to get guaranteed Oki setups. But anyways, beyond that, by the way, it should be noted that he can cancel like anything into the rock toss, but doing so is probably not a good idea. Like if you do it like, say, on hit like that, on block that's atrocious. Like you can just get outright punished. On hit that's -8, that's super bad. Doing that is not a real pressure tool. He doesn't get any additional pressure tools in this trigger, or neutral tools, which is why I think that the knife is still pretty viable. Although I don't really like either of his triggers that much, just for the fact that they remove his ability to play his normal game. So yeah, once again, I'm not entirely confident in saying like where you should spend your V gauge. Like if you land a hit, should you do crouching heavy punch into like a follow-up? Or should you do it with just like crouching medium punch and not spend any more V gauge? Like I don't know. I don't know what would be better so far. So yeah, once you land the hit with a move that's special cancelable or you get in, this doesn't really change your ability to convert off of lights. Well, actually, I shouldn't say that. It changes, you can cancel it off of his target combo, which means that you can get a little bit of extra stuff. The standing pipe attack that you can get off the target combo. The knockdown off that is not great. It also spends a lot of gauge. You could instead just do a rock setup. You can try and hit it into their feet or something like that. Hitting it the low. Yeah, bunting it across the ground. That one is good for covering both quick rise and back tech if you're in mid screen. Although, like, the timing it is super annoying, so. So yeah, it's good for covering both of those options. And then it's usually really plus on hit, like that was plus 17, which would be plus enough for you to combo into EX Zonk. Anytime that you, in terms of knockdowns, like if you're landing something into, say, like EX Zonk or regular Zonk, you can cancel into that, which you can cancel into a variety of options, like rock setups. I would not recommend doing rock setups off of those knockdowns in mid-screen. Rock setups are fine in the corner, but when you're in mid-screen, it's like if you say land just a Zonk into, like you buffer like a medium punch into Zonk, into that. Just take that. That's a fine knockdown right there. Forward dash, you're right in their face. Like it's totally fine. Like trying to take a guess on what they're going to do on their wake up and then get something else that might get you in front of their face. No, like don't even bother. Just take your good knockdown. Like take your better knockdown and then there's no issues. You can just get in front of your face. You can do command grab mix-ups. You have that option. There's no reason to do rock setups where you don't need to. Anyway, so if you're landing mediums or heavies or anything like that, and you're getting into your EX slide, then you can get some bigger stuff. So by default, your like normal combo extension is hitting them into the EX slide, into the anti-air pipe, and then you can do light ruffian kick afterwards. You cannot do heavy. It doesn't have enough juggle points anymore, but you can still get light. And then you're right in their face, you can command grab them afterwards, it's fine. If you're comboing into like medium ruffian kick, that's the only situation where I would recommend maybe going for rock setups, because the knockdown they get off of it is not great. You can't really, forward dash isn't great against either of the options that they can do, like quick rise or back tech afterwards. So instead, I might consider like going for pulling out a rock. And if you do it and pull out a rock there and just let it fall, you're even 0-0. Which means that you could go for something else and then like try and combo off of it or anything like that.
Let's have some fun.
Something like that, like doing that into the light ruffian kick into a rock toss is safe. It's only -2. And then they have to block, so you won't get punished by anything except for like 2-frame supers. So that is one rock setup that you can go for. If they back recover, then so long as you're throwing out the heaviest rock toss, you'll still be +3, and they can backdash and they can avoid the rock setup beforehand, so it's still not as good as just like taking your knockdown and then just taking the Oki you get off of that. But, you know, if you want to confuse them or go for a rock setup or whatever. And then I would recommend doing, like, EX slide into the anti-air pipe hit, into rock toss, into launching the rock. And then you're +12 afterwards, and you can do anything to push them into the rock after that. Like so. And then once you're in the corner, all your rock stuff gets like a billion times better because like there's no quick rise or back tech. It's just the rock stays on the ground and like bounces on the ground for a long time, especially if you hit it up into the air. There's no escape. So long as they're like it lands on them properly, there's no escaping it. So your rock setups get really good in the corner. I haven't really messed around to find any like cross-up shenanigan stuff that you can do with it, but you probably can. I should also mention that when you're in the corner, you can't get light ruffian slide after EX ruffian slide anymore. So in the corner, you can get like EX into heavy ruffian slide into the pipe hit for some good extra damage. And then you can cancel that into the rock for Oki. If you do it immediately, the pipe will whiff, so you have to do the heavy ruffian kick a bit later. And toss the rock, and then that's a really good thing, I think, to go for. It only uses a little bit of the gauge. If you're doing something else, you can do, like, anything that leaves them standing, like a combo into Zonk, into the anti-air pipe. Toss the rock, and then hit them. Although that spends a bunch of your V-gauge for not that much more damage, so I don't know about that one. I would rather recommend going for that. That's what I would do. So yeah, I think that about covers it. Well, obviously it doesn't. Like, there's so many things you can do with this trigger with different rock setups and things. But I think that's, like, a good foundation for how to approach it. Just, like, if you're getting regular Oki, just take your regular Oki. And don't try and do rock setups until you're in the corner. Because you'll probably just end up getting worse Oki by guessing wrong on how the opponent's going to wake up. And then obviously once you get the stun, you can do some like fancy combo. You don't even have to spend really that much gauge to do so, or any gauge at all really. And then you can just go for something that like does good damage. So yeah,